Archie in Your Face Special, Backup Stories. I wish I had known this story existed earlier. We start out with narration from a green screen telling us that Sonic and Tails are pursuing a SWAT bot who is delivering a top-secret computer message to Eggman. Sadly, it looks like the issue is going to have a pretty terrible gimmick, since you need to hold the physical comic up to a mirror if you want to know what the characters will be saying, as Sonic and Tails go into a portal to the Mirror Zone that logically shouldn't have existed to let Robotnik go into it, and immediately their text boxes are reversed. Although, to be fair, you can figure out what they're saying by just reading the text backwards. Tails says there he is, and Sonic says we've got him now. You don't even have to worry about reading the text from the bottom to the top to interpret it, like in issue 72 or whatever. So this is pretty fun, actually. Sonic destroys the SWAT bot with a spin dash, and Tails says he's got the Mecha Message Unit, carrying Sonic while flying away. And Sonic gives the SWAT bot a kick, saying that he's got him too. Tails wants to see what the secret message says, and Sonic says there's no time because Robotnik's going to be looking for it, so he'd rather read it outside. Sonic jumps out of the very convenient portal, saying he's had enough of the Mirror Zone, being a great audience surrogate, because I was tired of the backwards text too. It took too long to read. I'm really surprised that he jumped out of that zone that quickly, without us getting to see what it's even like other than that text gimmick. Of all the zone hopping, that was officially the laziest, not providing any real world building of the multiverse at all. Sonic and Tails complain that the message is in a secret code, and Rotor breaks the fourth wall, asking us if we can translate the message. Considering that the message is clearly made of actual letters, these two shouldn't be giving up on it this easily. It says, it starts with mirror mirror on the wall. I couldn't read it at first because I was insisting on having the text be that stupid square font that I can barely read the letters of to begin with. So, mirror mirror on the wall, who's the most evil tyrant of them all, and who's the dumbest hedgehog of them all? Fast says, I misread that as fat ass at first, and was impressed by gutsiness. But no, I guess the censors would try to read it backwards and catch that. Fast as fast can be, you'll never defeat me. I misread the D as a G at first. Here's looking at you, Sonic. Dr. Robotnik. That was hard to read too, and it was all thanks to that stupid font. All of the difficulty was thanks to that. It took forever to read it. I figured that it wouldn't be a message that Eggman would actually need and use. A message that would make actual sense in universe for him to want a SWAT bot to give him. And that instead it would just taunt Sonic. And that's stupid because you should have assumed Sonic would never bother reading the message. Although, to be fair, Sonic is known for his stubborn determination, so maybe he really did have a good reason to assume Sonic would waste time translating the message. It would have been great if that was his whole plan, to make Sonic waste time so he wouldn't be able to stop his actual plan. The whole problem with this pointless story is that instead of Sonic having a genuine, interesting adventure in the Mirror Zone, where we get to see it kind of fleshed out, instead, it's just a boring field where Sonic destroys a SWAT bot like he always does, and the only thing that's changed is that the text is reversed to take forever to read. The story was too short to be fulfilling in any way. And again, there's no reason it should have even happened, because why would that portal even be there for a Robotnik to send SWAT bots through in the first place? What would Sonic have to gain in opening up that portal? Wait, what? Well, good. I wasn't expecting a third story for In Your Face. And I kind of didn't like taking forever to read text, so maybe it's better that the previous story doesn't have more space to be fleshed out properly. But then it shouldn't have existed. This story should have had more space instead. So what kind of story will Tails have at this point in the comic where he's just a dumb joke? I guess he'll be humiliated the whole time, judging by the first page. Tails says that this part of the forest is so thick that he can't fly, and that's why he's late when he's flying around holding a piece of paper in his hand. Why would he ever not fly, even a little bit off the ground, just because there's a lot of leaves above him? There's no reason he should have fallen into the water from that frog surprising him, because he should have just been flying over the water. That was forced comedy relief. The paper is an invitation to be the special guest of the local Sonic fan club. Amy is the founder of it, right? Wait, No, she hasn't been introduced yet, so she can't be. Well, that's a disappointment. But yeah, there's no way this would happen to him. But it's great that Sonic has a fan club. Tails makes a reference to the fact that he's already smelled wet fur in the morning before. Why? We'll never know. He flies over to the fan club HQ in Knothole, and we get immediately overwhelmed by seeing a huge amount of people in the building all saying a whole bunch of different things. The only important thing about all of these different text boxes is that one of the civilians shows racism against echidnas and thinks Knuckles is almost as bad as Robotnik. This was understandable at the time because all Knuckles had ever done was antagonize Sonic working for Robotnik. It's not explained why Sonic had to turn down speaking over here. Maybe he was just too busy with the mission. I like that Tails gets respect because he's Sonic's apprentice. Tails is very relatably nervous because he wasn't prepared to make a speech, and he wonders what kinds of things speech makers say. So he decides to make up a story about what happens to him on the way here. A story that's impressively believable. He lies that while piloting his biplane, he was threatened by a giant robot, and with no ammo from his ray gun that he should always have for fighting, he kicked the robot's head while flying up to it and the cliff collapsed, and he and the robot fell into the waters of the river in a death grip. Sadly, while Tails mentions that he spun his tails to make a whirlpool, we don't actually get to see that illustrated until the Tails miniseries. But it is intriguing that he thought up the idea for that even this long ago. Because of how Tails has the butt monkey status at this point in the comic, he isn't allowed to be given any sort of applause because nobody was listening to him. Instead, the audience got up to look out the window at Robotnik. There's no way Tails wouldn't have noticed the audience getting up and going to look out the window when he was telling that story. He didn't go blind and deaf while he was telling it. On the bright side, it's a pleasant surprise to see that Robotnik did find this building in a reality ensues moment that makes things more exciting. Because at first I was questioning why he didn't find this place, since it was in a place where the forest thinned out. But I brushed it off because I assumed this place was safe in Knothole, where the forest isn't that thick anyways. But it turns out that it really was in a place where you could find it, since he threatens the Sonic Con with a mecha with giant extended legs. Tails gets pushed out of the building to go fight the mecha because thanks to his speech, which fortunately they really did listen to instead of ignoring, they have total faith in him. He better actually get to be useful, because him being humiliated effortlessly isn't funny. Predictably he is, and he's just smacked with the mecha's arm and gets knocked all over the place by the trees. Tails inspired the one fan who was given a name earlier, Posey, to go stand up to Robotnik ineffectually. Well, that was cool of her at least, if stupid. Deciding to use his imagination and think his way to a solution, as he should, Tails grabs and holds onto the arms of the mecha, while letting his body rotate instead. He spins around, but fortunately he's doing it on purpose instead of being spun around humiliated. And Robotnik says he can't focus on him long enough to grab him. In fact, just looking at him spinning around magically makes him dizzy. Just as dizzy as he would be if he himself was spinning around. Yeah, that's not confusing. Somehow, because Robotnik's dizzy, he can't operate the controls that are right in front of him, and the mecha itself falls over. This feels way too convenient just for the sake of making fun of Robotnik. Why would Eggman have put any buttons in the mecha's control panel that would achieve this result if he pressed them? It sure is lucky for Robotnik that the top of his mecha can still fly away safely. Or he'd have fallen in front of these guys and they'd grab him, hold him still, and they'd have no excuse not to have been able to arrest him after that. It's good that Tails got a moment in the sun and even got a kiss in the cheek. The story was a lot better than a story where Tails just gets kidnapped, gets humiliated over and over again, like I thought it would be. Or a story where it's literally nothing but Tails making up a story. It's just that his victory was way too convenient and unbelievable, implying that the only way he can succeed at this point is through a Deus Ex Machina.